Hey there, Dr. Drew here. Welcome to Trauma Through Faith Transition, Part 2. Today we're going to dive into the absolute importance of exercising your voice, of being able to speak and speak up. So let's dive right in here and talk about a few things that happen if you are not allowing your voice to be heard, if you're not allowed to speak up. Going back to part 1, I talked some about the importance of voice and of choice. In the field of trauma, we know as experts that if you don't have voice and if you don't have choice, that you will have trauma response. You will have consequences from that. So we really have to understand that we need to always be able to feel like we have voice and we have choice. Two really important things to understand that happen, neurologically speaking, when you don't have a voice, when you are told not to speak about that, or no one seems to want to listen. What starts to happen first is called limbic kindling. What I mean by that is we have the limbic system, the deep part of our brain. There's a lot of regions involved with this part of the brain. Also, part of your emotional brain is all in there. And when we have limbic kindling, it's as though this part of your brain, the best way to put it, it's frustrated. It's really struggling to fire off all the neurotransmitters, all the receptors as well, are not firing well. In fact, we find that people who struggle with weight loss, people who are struggling with sleep, people who are struggling with overall health and well-being, people who have all kinds of different mental health stuff going on, it's usually tied up in limbic kindling at the base. This is an important concept. And if you have exacerbated trauma, or in other words, your voice is not able to be heard, you're going to experience limbic kindling, which will also impact the rest of your body. That's why as you're going a lot of times through your faith transition, you will feel it in your gut, you'll feel it in your body, you'll feel fatigue. It feels much like depression, physically speaking. Well, it's because our limbic system is tied right in with the rest of our physiological system in our body. So we have to understand if we are not exercising our voice, we will with time experience limbic kindling. And several consequences come with that. It can be very dangerous. As well, what happens, the second major part in your brain that starts to happen when you don't have voice is your memories, your experiences are all stuck in the bottom part of your hippocampus or your hippocampi on both sides right here. And it's stuck in emotional memory. Your body and your brain thinks that everything that happened is still happening. It's all current when it's an emotional memory. Now, as you're able to speak your voice and move through the trauma that you have experienced, those memories go up through your hippocampi to the top to what we call narrative memory. When it's a narrative memory, it is what I like to call it's something that happened. It's no longer happening, so it's not a threat anymore. But if your voice is hushed, if you feel like you need to shut up and you cannot share your truth in your voice, then it's going to be stuck there in emotional memory. You don't want all of your experiences to be stuck there. They need to process through. So I'm going to help give some strategies to this today to help you have your voice heard. It is important that we are able to speak our truths. I want you to first consider this quote right here. Max Ehrmann said, "Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story." Recently, Oprah, just in January 2018, spoke about your truth, and she received so much backlash. people were saying no because your truth is relative and it's fake. The reality is your experiences, your truth needs to be heard. Collectively, as society, as culture, we need to speak our truths. Whatever that truth may be, it can help other people, but mostly it helps that internal self know that your voice does matter. Whatever that is, your truth needs to be heard. Other people need to respect it, but they can't respect it if we're not letting it out. I want you to consider this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To believe our own thought, to believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all man. And speak your latent conviction, and it shall be the universal sense. So as we all share our truths, as we all are able to have our voice heard, creates this universal sense. That is shared truth, when we all can share our truths. If not, it creates a lot of confusion in the world if we're all holding back. And we could get into all kinds of deep philosophical stuff. But the reality is, the world needs to hear your voice. And I mean that. So, as you are keeping that voice in, I totally understand it. In all reality, I was there for a few years. I felt ashamed. I felt incongruent with what I really did believe when I wasn't able to speak about my truth, about my story. And I could literally feel that limbic kindling effect in my body and in my brain. I felt so ashamed. And like I said, I felt incongruent. I felt this dissonance from what I really believed. But here's the thing. Whenever I felt, and many people that I've coached, stories I've read, people I've talked to face, we fear. And that is totally normal, is to fear rejection and to fear loss. It's scary to think, well, if I let my voice out, I might be kicked out of the church, or I might be shunned by my family or friends. I'll be honest, I'm even currently experiencing some of that fear of rejection. And I can feel my amygdala, that little fear center, saying, Drew, you're messing it up and you're going to be rejected by people that matter. By people that matter. As well, that fear of loss, that I'm going to lose people. Or I'm losing beliefs that I had that were a security blanket for me if I let my voice out. Those fears are real. And you're not alone in that. So many people feel those fears. Now, I want to share with you how to counter these fears, how to make sure this limbic kindling and the emotional memories aren't stuck in the bottom part of your hippocampus. I'm going to help you with this through 3 things today. Okay, now as we go through this series in the next coming weeks as well, there will be other skills I'm going to give you to help with overall trauma. But specifically, these 3 skills are geared towards having your voice heard, of being able to speak up and feel empowered. First, if you want other people to listen to you, you need to listen to yourself. Whenever I became a speaker, anytime that I would hear myself speak, it made me feel weird. Whenever I'd hear recordings or I'd watch videos of myself, it felt so awkward. But then I started to listen more and more and give myself positive feedback and also help coach myself. But when I listened to myself, what I learned that was critical is to not be so critical, but to just listen to myself. Because the more I listened to myself, the more I became confident in my voice. The more I became aware of my voice. This is so important if we want others to listen to us. So what can you do practically speaking? I want you to record you, whether it's on video or audio, or if you don't feel comfortable with that, write it down. And then if you do video yourself, watch and listen to that. And just notice what you feel with that. Even write down whenever you rewatch it, write down what are you experiencing physically and listen to that physical part of your body. That might need to be released, some of that fear or whatever other emotion from your traumatic events might be in there. Now, as you're doing this, if other trauma from other things come up, please stop. And if you do need to seek therapy for that, please do. But if it's related to your transition and you're able to just talk about your story, then talk about it. But if it does become too escalated, bringing up flashbacks or vivid memories, that's something you do need to address in a therapeutic setting. But if you're able to do this and record audio or visual or just write it down and then go back over it, you become more confident in your voice. And the most important person is listening to your voice right there. Listen to yourself first. This also helps put those memories up into narrative memory. They become more objective. Yes, we're still going to feel, but that feeling maybe won't come with such a punch in the gut or wherever you might feel that physically. Second, trust. Now, what kind of support would I be if I said, just trust yourself and just trust everything else? Hello, no, like it feels like everything that you trusted just got dumped upside down. It's not that easy. So you got to work at it. I'm going to tell you, the most important thing I've seen for people to rebuild that trust with themselves is to literally give yourself 1 hour per day, where it is your hour of whether that's meditation, walking, exercise, where it is just your hour, put everything else aside and it's just yours. The reason why that builds up trust with yourself is we're not have to go too deep into things. We're just simply showing that you are very important to yourself. And that you're trusting yourself, you'll give your own self that time. And also part of trusting yourself is become your best defense attorney. When those thoughts come up of guilt and shame and this incongruence and all of the fear in that, defend yourself. Defend yourself 5 times. And then tell me how that feels after defending yourself 5 times. Be your best defense attorney. The third is practice externally having your voice heard. Now, this has to be in safe situations, safe environments, whether that's a forum online that you trust or any other groups of people that you can get with. Preferably, and I want you to hear this out, do it one-on-one with people where you can look in their eyes. Because did you know as you look into somebody's eyes, and you're able to talk about difficult things, or you're just looking into someone's eyes anyway, it actually lowers your heart rate, which kicks in your parasympathetic nervous system, okay? And when that happens, this limbic kindling lessens. Your physiology becomes more balanced, and your brain is able to process better, process memories, experiences, all of that. Eye contact is really important whenever you're practicing having your story be heard. So try to look into somebody that you can trust. Look into their eyes. Be there with them. So think about these 3 things to overcome these fears of hearing your voice heard, of listen to yourself, trust, and practice externally. I'll be coming to you again here shortly with the 3rd part to this Trauma Through Your Mormon Faith Transition video series. Please do like, comment, share this, subscribe. It helps to get it out to more and more people. And I hope that through all of this, you will feel more empowered. And I really hope that you will see that you are enough. Now go out there and let your voice be heard, and we'll be talking again here shortly.